Hello, 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 everyone. Okay, we are echoing. All right, so let's just get to it. Um, I am live today, right now, in the evening time. I was actually supposed to go live yesterday, answer some of these questions, but yeah, we're live today because I wanted to answer some questions from a gentleman by the name of Johnny. He texted me the other day, and we're just gonna get right into it. I wrote up some answers, so I'll be reading off screen here a little bit. But I just wanted to hop on and answer some of his questions. The audio's giving me way too much feedback, so we're just going to take that off. But Johnny, I think Johnny is from, I think he's Lao, but he's living in China. It said on his profile he's from Beijing, China. And he asks, or he says, and then he asks a bunch of things. But anyways, I was kind of confused when he was asking the questions because I wasn't really sure what he was actually asking, but I put one and two together. Anyways, so he goes, "Hi, John. I'm a big fan of your talk. I do see you talk a lot about the community and what's happening. Do you have any suggestions on things Laos Asian men deal with on the mental health basis?" And of course, I'm like, "Good morning. Thank you for reaching out to me. What specifically would you like me to address on mental health?" I mean, it's kind of vague, you know what I mean? So then Johnny says, "Yeah, I appreciate you and answering me. And just the trials that our parents went through with the war and how that affected them to show us love in certain ways. Maybe see what our community goes through and how we overcome things like breaking generational curses, of things like talking to our kids and showing them our culture is more than just about being tough, like how our parents had to. Any tips or experience for being an officer, what you've seen, maybe your life experience as Big Brother, what you did to express your thoughts on your trials and hardships and praise you took from your mom and dad." He goes on and more, but I'm going to try to break up this question as best I can. Okay? So let's answer some questions. And if you guys have questions, go ahead and ask them in the comments while I'm here live. So we're going to kind of just go into it. I'm going to be reading from my notes here to try to answer some of his questions. So the first thing he asked about is, do you have any suggestions on things Lao Asian men deal with on a mental health basis and just the trials that our parents went through? Okay, am I just reading this again? I think I am. Okay, so before I answer this first question, I always want to preface that I go into a lot of tangents, as you can see. These kinds of questions aren't that simple, and I think that they always involve multiple layers of understanding before you reach a conclusion. But my most basic answer to you in regard to this one is that your parents, okay, they raised you and loved you to the best of their ability with the best opportunity and tools that they were given. Okay? So I'm going to say this again. They loved you to the best of their ability, have been given the best opportunity and tools they were given. Okay? But to dive deeper into this question, I want to use my favorite metaphor, which is the tool belt metaphor. The tool belt, okay? The first part of this message, or I guess answer to this question, the first part of this message goes to the children of refugees, all right? So I want you to imagine everyone is born as a plumber. Imagine everyone is born into this world with a blank slate, with an empty tool belt. Now imagine each job that a plumber goes through is a problem in life. When you have leaks or clogs, those problems represent the issues you have in life. Depending on the plumber, their tool belt may be different. Do they have the tools necessary to deal with on this job? Not all of them. Some of these plumbers are fixing leaks that are flooding the house, like entire floors, everything's wet, okay? They're fixing the leak with nothing but duct tape, okay? And I just imagine a flooded house with 3 kids in the background with water up to their knees. "It's okay, kids. I got this. Daddy got this. It's going to be okay. We'll be okay." That's probably what the parent thinks that they sound like. But what it actually sounds is like, "Bakamu!" Okay? Insert the rest, right? It's probably a lot worse than that. So when we talk about our parents and our grandparents and what they experienced with the war, I want you to look at it from a selfless worldview. Okay, do they have the tools necessary to do the job? And compare it to you, who probably don't have the same tools, right? You probably had a better environment and resources to get the tools necessary to complete the job. Maybe not. Maybe you didn't have the tools. Maybe your circumstances were just as bad in their own way. Maybe you don't have the tools either. Just food for thought, really. The second part of this message goes to the refugees themselves. Okay? I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to keep it real simple because it's kind of like a touchy subject for a lot of loud kids. All right? You don't owe your kids an apology. And you don't owe your kids an apology. Or, sorry, that's not what I meant. Your kids don't want an apology. Your kids do not want an apology. All right? They just want to feel acknowledged, seen, and heard so that they can start rebuilding that relationship again, move forward in life. So we have to admit that some of you as plumbers, when there was a leak in the house, instead of fixing the leak and dealing with their frustrations appropriately, you looked over at children and you beat them senseless or you verbally abused them. Okay? Some of us plumbers just couldn't really grasp plumbing, right? And they just took it out on their kids. Your kids acknowledge that, right? Your kids nowadays, they acknowledge that that you didn't have the tools because we're old enough now. We see that we don't have the tools for everything. But it's not an apology that they're after. It's the acknowledgement. Just like they were able to acknowledge that you didn't have all the tools, they're just wanting you to acknowledge the hurt that they experienced. Apologies can come later. Healing can come later. But really, honestly, acknowledgement is what these kids want. Kids? No. We're not kids anymore. We're millennials, right? We're older now. But the hurt still lingers and the hurt still is there. That's why Johnny asked me this question on my phone. That's why he reached out to me before I was about to hit the gym. Completely messed up my day. Johnny, you're okay, Johnny. But had me thinking, I was like, I'm going to sit and think about this. How do I answer these questions? Johnny wants to know. Okay? So anyways, I'm going to continue on with the script here, or my notes here. Logic says that healing will not happen and cannot happen if there is no acknowledgement of the event that happened. Okay? So logic tells me that I cannot heal until you acknowledge. Because we're just stuck in this moment right now. We're just stuck here in this spot. Okay? Some kids, they're able to forgive and forget. You have a lot of kids who are like, well, I got beat. Look at how I am here today. I'm good. I got beat. Good for you, bro. I'm sure there's a lot of talking to and needing you need to be coddled a little bit. I'm pretty sure that little child deep inside still hurts. But it's okay. If you can make it work for you, that's good. Like I said, some kids are able to forgive and forget. But I would say that a majority of the kids that I've spoken to, kids, again, millennials, right? Majority of adult children that I've spoken to just aren't able to let go. Okay? They're just not able to let go. When I started doing this like cultural influencer talking thing, one of the first events that I went to was Sobriety Fest. I went to Sobriety Fest and I went to go talk to a lot of different people who would follow me. I just kind of was roaming around taking shots with everybody and stuff like that. But what always surprised me the most was how they came up to me and they were like, but John, keep up what you're doing, man. It's great. I'm like, dude, I make stupid videos. Like I make really dumb videos online. And they're like skits half the time, right? I'm being silly. Sometimes I started talking a lot. Recently I just started talking a lot, but sometimes I talk a lot. But it's really those videos that they were the ones that that made the most impact, I guess you could say. I remember talking to a guy and he was la mau lao lai, la kin lao lai, la mau lai, okay? And in his drunken stupor at like 45, he's probably 48 years old, something like that. And he goes, I really appreciate you talking about what you're talking about. It means a lot to me. Nobody talks about it enough, the mental health of us men and the community. And I was like, wow, thanks, man. And he kind of stumbled away from the tent that we were under. And I was like, this is crazy. I always thought I was being over dramatic. You know, I thought I was talking too much, saying too much. Have I been conditioned to think that, you know, like, boys, we don't talk too much, boys. But it meant a lot to me to know that he wanted to hear things like this. So, yeah, I don't know where I was going with this. I just kind of want to bring that up as an example. Yeah. So, anyways. But I would like to say, I'm going to continue with this now. I would like to say that a majority of the kids that I've spoken to aren't able to just let go. There you go. That's where the connection is. They weren't able. That gentleman that came to me, he wasn't able to let go. He's like 48 years old, dude. Thanks for talking about mental health, men's mental health. No problem, man. No problem. Okay. So it would also be good for you too. Okay? I just want to bring this part up for แม่พ่อทั้งหลายพ่อตู้แม่ตู้แม่พ่อ okay? It would be good for you as well that you talk about it with your kids. You go see them. Look them in the eyes. All right? ไปเว้าน้ำลูกแน่เพราะว่าคันเจ้าถือหั่นI'm trying to speak loud. I can't speak loud. trying to get it to trying to get the message across. Maybe you can translate this for your parents. It's heavy. You know? มันหนักถือในใจมันบ่ดีว่าน้ำลูก You know, express those feelings. Like, mom and dad wasn't okay at the time. Like, we weren't in a good spot. You know? And I think it takes to have the conversation for both parent and child to talk. Like, it just needs to be, like, just talk. Just say it. Just speak your piece, because holding it in on the both, for both of you guys, is just not going to do you any good. Not going to do you any good at all. Okay, so I think that for parents, it would be good. All right? It would also be good for you, too. It would be good for you to say it, to get it off your chest, all right? To acknowledge it, and to be humble. Humble is the key word, especially if, you know, maybe you did, you know, beat them a little too hard, you know? Like, some of them used belts and spatulas and chased them around with knives and sakabua, or sometimes it wasn't even physical, sometimes it was verbal. Da from all the way across the other side of the house. Just yelling, screaming. You know, that leaves a mark too. And I'm not saying that, like, forgive them, forgive your parents or whatever, right? I'm just saying have the conversation. That's all I'm saying. Because it starts there. So I'll just leave it at that. Healing cannot and will not begin, as many of these kids have been victimized by the plumbers. Again, the plumbers. We're all plumbers, right? We all have different tools on our tool belt to deal with the trauma. So, healing cannot and will not begin until the conversation's had, until we identify the problem, look at the problem, right? Because a lot of the kids, these adult kids, have been victimized by their plumbers, their parents. Sounds a little bit like generational trauma, doesn't it, guys? Which leads me to the next question Johnny asked me. Johnny asks, how can we overcome things like generational curses of things like talking to our kids and showing them our culture is more than just about being tough, like how our parents had to. But I think the first thing to do here, Johnny, okay, the first thing is to recognize that there is a curse. You can't fix a generational curse if you don't believe that there's a curse. How do you fix a problem if there is no problem? How do you fix a problem if there is no problem? I said that twice because I want to emphasize that a lot of people don't see the problem. Okay? Who in your life cannot recognize the problem? I'm sure you know someone. Okay? How do we overcome things like breaking generational curses? Johnny emphasizes that our culture is more than just about being tough. And I agree with Johnny's statement. It's more than about being tough. It's more than about being tough. It's about being empathetic, compassionate, loving. But I also want to challenge you, Johnny, that what we perceive as being tough, there's got to be something else behind that. Do you think that toughness, is that fear? Is that insecurity? Is that anxiety? So you talk about our parents saying we have to be tough, right? But do you think they think that they're being tough? Or are they acting out of fear, out of insecurity and anxiety, right? And what other emotions are there? Have they just been raw dogging life under the guise of toughness? Probably. They're dealing with demons that we don't even know of. They don't have the tools to deal with it. See, we're back to our plumber analogy again. So imagine you're sitting around a katok, right? Nang kin kao, nang yu katokan, na me kapo, kameko. My family, we were traditional. We sat around a small table. We ate with our hands, the whole thing, right? Chris Kosh, applesauce, I'm sitting there as a kid eating and trying to have a conversation with mom and dad. I'm trying to tell them about my day. Mom, Dad, guess what I did today in school? This is what I learned. I had all these cool things I want to talk about. I hadn't seen my mom and dad all day. I've been how long in school? Like 6 hours. It felt like 8-10 hours. Shit, when I was a kid. I just, walked home from school, did my homework, whatever it was as a kid. Sitting there. Time to eat now. Dad just got home from work. Time to eat. So I'm trying to talk. But all I hear is, yeah. บ่ต้องว้าวกินข้าวเจ้าว้าวหลายโพด Grandma, bless you, Grandma, I love you, yelling at me to stop talking, keep quiet. ขันเจ้าบ่กินข้าวเดี๋ยวนี้ If you don't eat now, then you won't have time to eat. We also had to do things that were weird. Like eat the food first and then drink water last. Because water will fill you up and then you won't have room for food. Right? You'll be hungry later. You'll still be hungry. Guys, I'm no expert at trauma. Okay? But I think that's PTSD. Okay? Let's put ourselves in Grandma's shoes. Grandma was a woman who had to make sure that her kids were all fed, all 9 of them. All right, let's think about it, right? Crossing the Mekong River, going to stay in a refugee camp at Ubon. I'm looking at Grandma right now after she just got done yelling at me. Grandma, have you taken a look around you? We have electricity. We have running water. The ground that we sit on, it's soft. It's got carpet. We're safe now. We're thousands of miles away. So that toughness that we talk about, I think it's masked, right? I think it's fear. I think it's anxiety. The unknowing of when the next meal would be. It could look different in other ways. I mean, what do you think hoarding is a symptom of, right? I'm pretty sure that has to do with PTSD and trauma, right? Kids growing up, people growing up who didn't have much, they hoard things now, right? Anyways, so meanwhile, Buck John won't shut the hell up. This kid talks too much. This kid asks too many questions. They're shoving food down my mouth to keep me from talking. I'm so full. I just want to connect and talk. I've been at school all day. I want to talk. I want to connect. Why? Why was Buck John? Why are we programmed to be like this while our parents are so different? You ask yourself that growing up. Why was I wanting to talk and my parents were so different? Why were you acting that way and your parents just didn't understand? This is Western ideology, guys, clashing with the Southeast ideologies. Okay? So Western ideology clashing with Southeast ideology, excuse me. We grew up with this kind of programming, okay? And I want to show you the programming that we grew up with. All right? Here's an example Oh, that's a black screen. Let me pull this up. Right here. Let's watch this really quick. All right. This is a Roseanne ad in the 90s. This is what I grew up with. And it's going to explain the whole dynamic behind the dinner table. So this is Roseanne.นั่นไพ่ว่าไพ่บอกฮะก็อีนายโรเซนหันแหละบอกว่าต้องกินข้าวกับว่าวน้ำแม่ก็พอเห็นบ่ That's why, guys. And you know, like, I don't talk about it enough. It like makes sense to me in my head that that's why. Okay. อีนายโรเซนหันแล้วบอกว่านั่งลงว่าวน้ำแม่ก็พอตอนกินข้าวแต่ว่า grandma and whoever else was experiencing PTSD at the time แล้วบอกว่าไม่ต้องว้าวไม่ต้องว้าวกินข้าวให้มันเบิดจะว้าวหลาย Ow. Because if you did not eat, you wouldn't have an opportunity to eat. The bad guys are coming. โจรเขาสิมาลักเอาเจ้า right? Because if you were, I don't know, the Laos government just fell, and you can see smoke from the distance of them coming your direction. You gotta go. You gotta run. You gotta go. It's time to eat. Eat your food. It's time to go. กินข้าวกินเร็ว right? Sorry, I'm probably yelling into the microphone right now. กินข้าว and then we gotta go. Don't drink your water right now. Eat this food. Eat this protein. กินข้าวกินไก่นี่ whatever, right? Fill your stomach up with the hard food first. You can drink water later, because I don't want you to be hungry later. Because if you drink too much water right now, you're going to be full, because the water will go down quick, right? I think it's important to understand that there were 3 to 4 generations that came over to the United States at the same exact time. Each generation having a different life view, and each generation having a different life view and skills once they arrived. We were all spinning in circles trying to survive. Okay? And I'm going to end on that note, because I can go on forever about that perspective of the different generations. That's probably a video for another day, another live for another day. But it's up to you guys to ask me those questions. Right? If you guys ask me the questions, I'll come up and I'll think about it, and then I'll give you my best take, my best answer. I'm not saying I'm correct. I'm just giving you my perspective on everything. Okay? You see, what I did for a large part of this explanation is really try to emphasize the parental point of view. I'm validating their experience. I'm acknowledging that they had it hard. I'm trying to see it from their perspective. Because, Johnny, part of your question was to talk about how their trials and tribulations affected their ability to love us. Right? Right? Well, now you know. Well, not all of it. I mean, because we can't really, truly ever know how they feel. But you know enough. You know enough, right? I mean, you heard it your entire life. Everybody's got the story. Every family has got that Mekong story. We are children of the Mekong, dude. 100%. We fled everything. Baptized in the Mekong River, came out of that Mekong River, refugee camp, assimilation classes, learn how to use a toilet, learn how to wash your hands, learn how to act like an American, right? C-130 flight, and then an airline flight, first class, straight to the States. Boom, smack dab, boom, you're in America. Right? That's what we know as our part of our story. Everybody's got a story, guys. And I think right now at this part, I kind of lose a little bit because Johnny, these are great questions, Johnny. You asked me a lot of questions. I was trying to make it flow in the best way possible, but I don't know if I can because I'm a little ADHD, like I said, and I can just go all over the place. So let me just look at my notes really quick. Because Johnny had asked a question about mental health, and how men deal with mental health. I think that was his original question, but I went on to this tangent. But Johnny, your other question was, how do Asian men deal with our mental health? Man, I'll preface this like, I've said it earlier that it's multifaceted, right? So many different layers. But I can give you a perspective from kind of like what I've learned on the street, being from Luat, right? And also working in the mental health sector for a little bit. Okay, I was a floor worker. I worked on the floor. I'm not like a mental professional or anything like that. That's not me. I don't claim to be that. I worked, like it's basically patient care. Okay. But I think the question is quite simple for this answer. I think that there are a few things here. The first being for Asian men, children of refugees, specifically, children of refugees, Asian men. And I say this because that's who Johnny is. He's asking me to answer this question. And I'm speaking it in our perspective because our worldview is different as we go into this, okay? Because being Kon Asian, being Kon Lao, how did we deal with sorrow? How did we deal with trauma? How did we deal with problems, right? We just suck it up. That's the good old American way. The Americans would do that too. But specifically for Asian men, you just had to bear it, man. You just had to bear that burden. You had to carry it on your back for the rest of your life. Don't talk about it. You don't need to, right? That'd be sad. That's literally just how we dealt with it. But I think the first part of this question, to answer it, is to learn to sit in your feelings and just let your body adjust. Okay? Sounds corny. But there's a reason why you guys want to talk about mental health all the time. Pop in my DMs. Hey, can you talk about this? Can you talk about it? Yeah. Learn to sit in your feelings. Learn to allow your body to adjust. I used to think that it was really crazy. Here's an example. I used to think that it was really crazy that, in preschool, grade school, I thought it was corny. The teachers are like teaching the kids how to box breathe. You guys know what box breathing is? Anybody in the comments? Go ahead and comment what box breathing is. Right? How do you box breathe and how do you take a moment for yourself? You breathe in, hold it, you let it go, right? I actually don't even know how to box breathe myself. I just focus on the breathing. I'm horrible. But I know what box breathing is because I've seen my coworkers using it on other people. But I never box breathe. I just focus on my breathing. My point is the point of these exercises for when people are experiencing sorrow, pain, they're having a negative moment, right? They're having a reaction in their life. There's like they're really upset. Well, we tell our kids, we send them home with papers. Hey, parents, can you help them work on this? This is what I want them to do when they're upset. I want them to sit down. I want them to breathe. I want them to control their breathing. All right? It's called grounding. Okay? Hey, Johnny. Okay, Johnny's on. Johnny's the one asking the questions. But grounding, right? Grounding is what's so important when it comes to this. And I guess the other part of that too, Johnny, I'll give you because you had asked about like what I've seen as an officer. And specifically, did you know that I worked in mental health as Tamluat? Because I was curious. I was like, how is he asking for my experience in that? Really quick. One, a lot of the problems in the world are because people don't know how to control their emotions, don't know how to regulate themselves. Right? You were upset about something that your wife did, so you beat her. Okay, cool. Now you're going to jail. Why is that? It's because that person was unable to sit in their feelings. work through their feelings, and then go back to their wife and then talk to their wife about the problem. Why did you beat your wife? จะคุมาตีเมีย จะคุมาตีลูก right? Because he didn't know how to sit in his feelings, breathe, take a moment, guys, and then go back and talk later like a regular person would. ตำรวจ huh? They don't respond to people who are having a good day. Okay, they respond to people who are having a bad day, really bad day. A lot of days they don't know how to regulate themselves, and that is it. So the first part of that, man, just sit down, sit in your feelings, learn to breathe, and learn to let your body adjust. Especially if you're just now like learning and seeing the fact that like, oh my God, I am 30 something, 20 something years old. We're millennials, right? We're like in our late 20s. And I'm just now learning about mental health and actually coming to the idea and grasping it like, oh man, this stuff is actually real. So you have now 28, 30 something years of never really allowing your body to adjust to trauma, to adjust to sorrow, to adjust to grief. You don't know how to do with it. Your body doesn't know what to do. These are skills. Regulating your emotions, your basic emotional skills that you should be learning when you were a baby, a kid. Ila, honey, my baby, my little girl. When she's crying, man, I do this thing. My old partner, her name's Mariah, my old partner, when I worked with her, she always did this thing. It's like mirroring, I guess. But like when the kids are acting out, when they're like when we respond to a call and the kids are upset, you know, just like losing it, crying, and they can't. Calm voice. Hey, you're gonna be okay. Bopenyang. Okay. Let's just take a moment to breathe. And they're trying to breathe. Like they're trying to breathe, right? And then Mariah, she's go. Just look at them, and I'm not really sure what that technique is called. I'm going to call it mirroring. But she's showing the kid the example of doing it. And I've done it with my little girl. Works. Amazors. I'm telling you guys, mental health, the field of mental health saved my life. Saved my life. I was such an angry person prior to this. But knowing how to breathe, okay? And it's funny, too, because it kind of links into, like, the whole Buddhist philosophy. We're Buddhist, right? So what do Buddhists do? We meditate. What is meditation? Thinking, breathing. It's literally Buddhism, right? Johnny, I can't really see all your comments just yet, okay? I'll try to get to it when I can. So, emphasize this again. Most important, let your body adjust. Let it feel. Sit there and feel in your emotions. How? Okay? You're going to feel, it's going to feel weird, man. You're going to sit there and be like, oh, I just can't control it. Just sit there and feel it. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to scream, scream. As long as you're not hurting anybody, right? Oh, Mikey's still on. Hey, Mikey. As long as you're not hurting anyone, okay? All right, Johnny, I'm going to get to the rest of your question here. I wrote some notes. I'm not sure if I... Oh, this is what I wrote. I said, let them flow through you. The more you push it back, you'll never allow your body to learn to actually regulate. That's true. The more you bottle these emotions inside, you'll never give your body the chance to learn how to deal with it. Think about it. I mean, it's basic stuff, guys. We think that it's basic. We think that it's basic, but you know, if it was so basic and learning how to deal with this stuff, we wouldn't have jails. We wouldn't have, you know, people just doing crazy things. Okay? All right, secondly, oh man, this hit me later in life. I didn't really learn these things until later. But secondly, okay, so the first part of the answer to how do Asian men deal with, you know, their mental health? Well, the first part is learning how to sit in those feelings, okay? And letting your body process it healthy. We'll talk about the healthy part. And then secondly, find a healthy hobby. That's what I wrote. I'm not sure if it's clinically correct. I'm not sure if it's what the doctors would say, but I'm telling you that because it worked for me. Find a healthy hobby. Exercise, music, food. And what I mean by food is like learning how to cook food. Right? A lot of people like to eat food, eat their feelings away. I'm not saying that. Don't eat your feelings away. I'm saying like some type of artistic form of expression, something that allows you to have an outlet, right, Johnny? Okay. So exercise for me, like, oh my God, I'm so lazy. Oh my God, if I'm in a bad mood, the last thing I want to do is run. I've only done that a few times in my life where I was like so upset that I actually went for a run. I've only done that a few times, okay? Music, just don't just like listen to music, right? Like, but be engaged in the music. Mariah, oh, I keep bringing up Mariah. She's great for these examples because we talked about it a lot. But when it comes to grounding, some people would say like, oh, take a hot shower, right? Okay, yeah, maybe showers and hot baths are your hobbies. I don't know, but I want to bring this up as an example. When you're in the shower, you're not just taking a shower just to take a shower and feel sorry for yourself. The whole idea is to ground yourself. So when you're in the shower, take a moment to breathe it in. So breathe in, take a moment to breathe in. So breathe. What are you smelling? Engage your senses. What are you smelling? I smell the soap, right? I smell the soap. It smells like eucalyptus. What do you feel? The water is warm. I feel it on my neck, right? In your hands as you're washing your hands or washing your hair, right? So like these are like grounding methods. So like when you're in the shower, you want to ground yourself by going through your senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you feel? Right? And it's funny because it also ties back to the Buddhist beliefs in our culture, right? Depression comes from our worry of the past. Oh man, I can't believe I did that, man. I'm so depressed. Like that was so dumb of me. That's a sorrow speaking, right? Anxiety comes from what we can't control in the future, like what we want in the future, what we don't know, the expectation, like, oh my God, I gotta do this, gotta do that. That's anxiety, right? But peace comes from being in the present, right? In the present. So when we talk about grounding, it's kind of ties into our Buddhist beliefs, like being in the present. Okay. I wrote in here, so exercise, music, food, something that ignites a passion in you, something that makes you feel alive, something that grounds you. And I said, in the clinical realm, I think that's called a coping skill. It's a coping skill. That's what it is. Thirdly, I think this might be it. Thirdly, find yourself a good support group. So important, guys. So important. Find yourself a good support group. Someone you feel safe going to. It is so important to have people that show you that that they love and care about you, and then you actually receive it. Like, like some people care about you, like that they care, but they do a horrible job at showing it. You have to surround yourself around people who do a really good job of supporting you and that you feel safe going to. Okay? Someone that's not going to judge you for how you feel, what you say, what you do. They're there. Sometimes for some people, it's just sitting there being with them, and they're okay with that. Right? You got to have someone. You got to have a group of people, right? And, it's about building the safety net. These things that I'm talking about, these are protective factors. Okay? So it's like a safety net of people, a safety net of hobbies and skills, a safety net of self-regulating. What can I do that's healthy, right? So it's like going to go fish in a river. You're going to go fish in a river and you're expecting to catch a fish with holes in your net. Bro, you got holes in your net. You're going to go to the river, go catch some fish. I'm going to catch some fish. It's going to be a great day, but you got holes. You bring up the net, there's holes everywhere. How are you going to catch fish? You ain't catching no fish. You got holes. No. Build a net of hobbies, people, and safe spaces. Okay? I think you can start with that first, and I think you'll be all right. Right? No Heineken and Henny. No. Heineken and Henny are not coping skills. The green bottle and the brown liquid is not. No. Okay? It's a good time. It's a good time. I'll tell you what. Heineken and Henny. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You know a lot of people. We love Heineken and Henny, right? Mm-hmm. It's a good time, but it's not a coping skill. And you're going to lose credit in my class if you use Heineken and Henny as a coping skill. I'm just kidding. You're in the Big John class right now. Heineken and Henny are not a coping skill, right? Plain and simple. Stop it. You're being ridiculous. Stop it. Oh, man. Okay. And then Johnny then asks me, how do you deal with mental health in our culture? Well, how do you deal with mental health in our culture? I think what you're trying to ask me is, how do we persuade our parents to believe in mental health? I think that's the real question, right? I think that I can speak for a majority of Asian millennials when I say that you're not going to persuade them, brother. There's no persuading our parents to believing in mental health, all right? You have to understand mental health in their mind is, I'm พี่บ้า ข่อยบ่ได้เป็นพี่บ้า นะ Mental health in their mind is จะเป็นบ้า. That's what mental health means. It's a label, right? They don't understand depression to them is มันเป็นบ้า มันขาตัวเองตาย. You know? Clinical depression is more than that. These are chemical imbalances in our brain, guys. Chemical imbalances in our brain. We have to take medicine for it. They don't understand that you need medicine to heal. That's just, it's simple. But here's another perspective, okay? Like, here I am going back into the parents' perspective of things. I think it's so important. In order for us to heal, we have to be empathetic towards those who maybe might have trespassed against us, right? Our own parents or friends, whatever. Imagine you were living in the United States. But then the United States got invaded by some country and you had to go to France for a new start. So you, in the United States, me, I'm in the United States. I'm in the United States. We're getting invaded. I got to go somewhere for safety. Holy shit. Everything's on fire. I need to go. Pick up my kids, hop on the nearest plane. Boom, we're on our way to France. Dude, I can't speak a lick. I can't speak a lick. I can't speak a lick of French, okay? And I don't understand anyone or anything. Dude, I'm in my late 40s now at this point. So I just left everything. I've left all my belongings, everything that I have, all this expensive-ass furniture, my expensive-ass computer, expensive-ass equipment. My kids are in school. I take them out of school. My wife has got a great job. I pull her out. We're going to France. We don't have anybody in France, but that's the safest place right now. I just got to, they're killing people outside. I got to go. All right? So here we are in France. I'm in my 40s. I only speak English. Okay? And in that time that I'm in France, okay, technology and media is just advancing all around me. I'm talking like we went from iPhones and iPads and laptops, right? Robots. Robots have entered the chat. Stay with me. I'm going to get to a point here, okay? I'm getting to a point. Robots have entered the chat. Holograms have entered the chat. The way you drive a car has also changed. We don't do everything on the internet anymore, loser. We don't go on our laptop. We do everything in virtual reality. This freaking chip right here, right? Pop it on. Boom, virtual reality. That's where I get my information. We start getting up-to-date news in real time from our glasses, from a little chip. Everyone has figured it out but you, because you can't speak French. I can't, but John can't speak French. Everyone else has figured out technology all around me because I only knew how to work off iPhone and a computer. That's what I know how to work. But everyone else is using robots and holograms and microchips and shit. I don't know how to do that. Why? Because I can't speak French. I'm in an environment in which I can't speak French. I can't learn to do these things so simple, so easy. Right? So I'm already disconnected from the world in a way. As I'm trying to barely survive and learn how to speak French, the world is just going without me. Do you see what I'm saying? Just learn how to speak French, guys. I can't operate a robot. What the fuck is a hologram? No, I'm not up to date on the world politics because I don't have the newest chip in my head or the update because I have to get the glasses with them to get the news. But I'm 40. I'm barely making a living, surviving in France. I'm having a hard time navigating work as an immigrant to France already. You see, time froze for many of our elders, right? And I'm just using technology as a thing because that kind of works. But think about it back then. Like, technology wasn't so advanced yet. It was like there really was no technology for our elders. But time froze for our elders. Meko pako hao, right? And our older parents. So like those who came in their 40s and 50s. Like, right? Was it Gen X? I think it's Gen X. No, Gen X was still young at the time. So it was definitely the boomers and silent generation. That's who I'm talking about. So time froze for elders. They did everything to keep their family alive. That's what they did. They did everything to keep their family alive, which was, I don't know what I need to do, but I need to get to that country where it's safe. They got us away from war. But the rest of it was like fighting an uphill battle. They needed to rely on your parents, my parents, our parents, to translate. What did that do now, guys? That then, because our grandparents relied on our parents to translate growing up, because they're a little bit older, smart, young guys are smart. They learn faster. That ripped their youth away from them. Right? So here they are. They're just trying to be teenagers. They're just trying to be young adults. Boom. Rip their youth away from them. I got to take grandma to her doctor's appointment. I got to do this kind of paperwork. I got to do that. I got to take care of you. All this and that, right? Their youth was ripped away from them. What have we seen, guys? MTV, Teen Moms. Right? What we all know this. Any person, any teenager, any kid, teenager, I guess, who's had a child or at a young age had to start life at a young age, had to grow up fast. They had their youth ripped away from them, and then they kind of make up for that in their 20s, right? Or like as they get older, as their babies get older, they make up for it. They go out and party, they go out and experience and stuff like that. And then sometimes people are stuck in that cycle and they never come out of it. Guys, what are we seeing right now? Your parents had their youth ripped away from them. So what do they do now? They never grow up and continue to party until they're 50 and 60 years old drinking Henny like there's no tomorrow. Tell me I'm wrong. Because they can outdrink me and you and your best friend. Not your mom. Because your mom's joining them. And that's the truth. That's the truth. I mean, them OGs, man, they could real party. You know what I'm saying? They can party. And I'm not judging them. I'm not saying this judge. I'm just putting the observations out there and the facts. Like I feel like what I'm saying is fact. These are observations. Right? This is what war does. This is how trauma affects one generation and is passed on to the next. And Johnny, your question was very simple, but it's so many layers, like I said before. It's multifaceted. There's so many things that we have to understand. I'm hoping I'm answering your question. I'm touching on a lot of things, and each of those little things I'm touching on is like a whole nother thing that we can talk about. You know what I'm saying? Listen, like I said, I can go on for days, but the fact is time froze. You see, what I did for a large part of the explanation is really just emphasize on the parental point of view. I'm validating their experience, like I said. I'm acknowledging that they had it hard. I'm trying to see it from their perspective. So no, you're not going to persuade them verbally, but you can show them the light. You're not going to persuade them, like mental health is saying, but you can show them the light via your actions and having healthy boundaries. Take what you can. And my notes end like right there. But I'm going to continue though. I'm going to continue to talk about how you can't persuade them verbally. You can't tell them, อีแม่อีพ่อจะคือบ่เข้าใจ mental health is a thing. No. You can't do that. Right? But what we can do is show them by example. If they're unregulated, how do we react? react in a healthy way. Set a healthy boundary. They don't have certain tools, so we have the tools. Dude, I'll tell you what, this is a thing that nobody wants to talk about when it comes to healing generational curses and healing and trauma and this and that. We want to talk about how to do it and want to do it. I'm not saying that this is the answer, but I feel like the obvious answer is the hardest answer, which is, hey man, we got to put our pride away and we got to show them. But he beat the hell out of me when I was a kid. How could he do that? Blah, 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 blah. Look, I know, but he didn't have the tools. But you have the tools now. Right? How do I expect him to know how to fix the plumbing? I can't. We saw him. It was leaking, and he just kept wrapping duct tape on it, and it kept leaking. He just kept doing the same thing over and over again, and it kept leaking, and he kept the duct tape. But what did you do? What did you do? You're watching him. He's like running around in circles like a madman. But you went to school. You went and got the tools. You got the nice stuff. You got the nice wrench. You got that blue glue stuff. You got some new pipes. You got a whole van out there full of things. Yeah, he's kind of a mess around. He's soaking wet. But no one taught him how to shut off the power before fixing the pipes. You might want to get in there if you really care enough. I mean, that's up to you. Turn off the water. Wow, it stopped leaking. Yeah, let's go in there and help Dad with the pipes. Throw those new pipes that you got on there, the nice wrench. Probably should call a carpenter in too because the floors are all damaged. But do you see what I'm saying? I'm saying that the hardest thing to do is to show them how it's done. Because it requires us to put down our pride. Do you see what I'm saying? So, yeah. He says, now that I'm basically done answering that question, I'm going to go through some of these comments here. All Things Random. I was also just curious where you're going with this. All Things Random, is that my boy? All Things Random, is that my dude? Is that my dude? Is that... I think it is. Let me see. I don't even know how to go live on my thing here. Talking about trauma, my guy. Talking about trauma. What you know about trauma? Tell me about trauma. Oh, it is. Oh my God. What's up, brother? How you been, man? Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I rambled about 55 minutes straight, guys. And I hope I answered your question, Johnny. Johnny, if you're still on. Johnny Norsavan from Beijing, China. I was supposed to do this recording yesterday, but I got a little sidetracked. So let me go through. Not many comments, but let me go through my multi-stream chat. Thank you, Mikey. Policemen see a lot of emotions on the daily, but there are for empathetic trained emotions. Okay, policemen see a lot of emotions on the daily, but they're empathetic trained emotions. But we, as an Asian culture, do see things like this, abuse. How we deal with it as Asian culture is known and common to drink, but we change now. Hopefully it breaks that curse. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's going to take a lot of time. It's a conversation that the Kun Lao specifically are not ready to have. They're not ready to have that conversation about, hey, is drinking a problem in our culture? That was hard. What do you think? Do you think drinking is a problem in our culture? It's one of those things, man. I don't think anybody wants to talk about it. I mean, everything we do, birthdays, get-togethers, we're binge drinking, man. It's like 10 shots by the end of the night. Fuck it. Lao New Year, you're drunk for 3 days straight, a week straight sometimes. Yo, drinking's a problem in our culture, but nobody wants to talk about it yet. I haven't really, and to be honest, I haven't really figured out how to even bring up that or talk about this subject because I haven't really figured out myself the answer. Because I mean, like, there's drinking in a lot of different cultures. Like the Irish culture is all about beer, you know, and they drink in their festive. Hispanic culture, you know, they have tequila, right? What's the difference from a lot of people doing it, right? What's the difference? So, anyways, I think that it's a problem. I think that it causes a lot of problems too. But it's not a conversation that's ready to be had yet. Like I said earlier, in order for you to fix a problem, you have to identify that there's a problem. And a lot of us have not, or don't see it as a problem. So, yeah. Anyways, Johnny, I hope I answered your questions. I came on this live specifically to answer your questions, my guy. All right. But it's been an hour, and that was a one-take wonder. I had my notes up on my little teleprompter thing here. And I don't even care that it is not as, what do you call it, manicured, per se. What you see is what you get with me, all right? What you see is what you get. Oh, okay. Okay, I got one more here. Hi, John. This is off topic, but I was thinking about a song. Oh, my goodness. This has nothing to do with my... Okay, anyways. Like I said, I don't care if it's manicured. One take wonder, huh? We'll just do this from now on. So I'm going to keep doing this. I got some news about the 501c nonprofit that will be coming out here soon. I'll give you guys some news whenever I talk to my team and we're ready to talk about it. I know we talked about it 2 episodes ago, or two lives ago. Talked about it. But things are kind of moving and chugging along. Okay? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that rant, that long 1-hour rant answering Johnny's questions. If you have any questions, I will answer your questions. All right? Give me a couple hours to kind of formulate my thoughts, put my notes down, and I'll come on live and I'll answer the questions. I think that's kind of cool. I think that's cool. I like doing this. You know, this is way easier content to do other than like thinking of something to talk about on TikTok. I love this. This is great. I love this. All right. So if you have questions, you want to talk about whatever it is, go ahead and ask me. Okay. Yeah. All right. I love you. Goodbye.